chairs.
Maybe you should announce it. I want to turn off there.
Yeah, I think that was a gentle reminder. How are we doing, Miss Denise? We're ready? All right, tell me when we're live. Great, okay. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. This is our May 21st public hearing with the joint with the Planning Commission. I'd like to first start with our roll call for the Town Council.
Morris. Yes. Cole. Here. Edwards.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Casanello.
Present.
Shannon.
Here.
Okay. Our next order on our business is, our first would be our Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time also, I'd like to have just a moment of silence for the tragedy down in Texas. I just can't imagine the grief that the families, the students, the teachers that are going through for this. It's just a sad time that we have to remember these people in our prayers and thoughts. All right, thank you all. Chairman Cottle, if you'd like to go ahead and call your commission to order.
All right, I'd like to call the public hearing to order for the Planning Commission. Roll call, please.
Hamby. Here. Casanello.
Here.
Cottle.
Here.
M. Carroll.
Here.
J. Carroll.
Here.
Shannon.
Here.
Did you forget?
All right. First up is our presentation for Crossroads Village Center. Ms. Emily Lockhart, I think.
So tonight, I'm just going to give a brief little presentation on what the Council on Planning Commission is going to hear this evening, as well as the things to consider, the process, and the zoning ordinance.
Excuse my interruption. Could you just get a little bit closer to the mic for the folks at home? There you go. Perfect.
Of course. It's going to act up.
Okay. So as we all know, the site that's in question tonight is the empty, undeveloped lot behind Chick-fil-A. The borders are Interstate 66, Route 15, and Route 55 here, Washington Street. It abuts with Sherwood Forest, along with several other residential properties on Fayette Street, and then 2 commercial businesses further up. And then on the other side, you have, again, Chick-fil-A and the CVS. So the business commercial district is its current zoning. We call that the B2. And in the B2, we look for intense commercial and industrial uses. So what we want here is to kind of see this mix of uses: office, retail, restaurant. And then we want to have a kind of high standard for how we're going to minimize the traffic on the access roadways, and then we want to minimize the traffic at our major intersections. Our by right uses, I just want you guys to take a look at this. This is a snapshot of what could go in if someone were to come in first thing tomorrow morning and apply for a zoning permit. These are all of the uses I have to accept an application for. They then would follow the site plan process, go through ARB. All of the other processes we have, but these are the ones that are by right. Some of them, I'll just name a few: automobile parts, supply, gas station. We have your typical office uses, pawn shop. We have stores, general grocery, liquor store, neighborhood convenience. So those are just a few of the commercial. I also want to point out residential is accessory apartment here. So this would be very similar to the Winterham property we already have in town that's developed. It's commercial on the first floor, and then by right, they have apartments on the second floor above. So, go ahead. Some special permit uses, kind of one of the main reasons we're here tonight is to hear the public comments on 6 special use permit applications. So the ones that they're asking for, we have 3 drive-through restaurants. We have a drive-through bank. The bank is up for consideration because of the drive-through. We have a building in excess of 50 feet in height, and then we have a automobile repair service. So I kind of already went through the surrounding uses. In the back corner, though, I want to point out we do have R2 that would meet up against the townhomes, which is also R2. So this is a little bit higher intensity residential, so you have more homes per acreage. You have a little bit of R1 there on Fayette Street, and then again you have the B1, which is the 2 commercial uses, A Dog's Day Out and Giuseppe's. And then on the parcel itself, but to the left, so not on the parcel, but on the adjoining properties, you will have B2. You can go through that. So the comprehensive plan is planned for a planned interchange park. So what this calls for is a mix of uses around the interchange. They want a unified development here. So what it basically is stating is we want to keep in mind if someone were to come in and develop, we don't want it haphazardly, one small pad site at a time. We wanted a unified, cohesive look. So that's kind of reiterated here. It's a mix of uses: commercial, office, professional, and retail, all sharing common parking facilities so that we're not over parking our town. I'm going to skip this. So the simplified snapshot, what we want to do tonight or in our coming meetings is we want to approve the rezoning and the special use permit applications. This is just the very small first step in a longer process. The other processes, you're going to have the site plan has to come in. You'll have architectural review board. You'll have the final site plan approval process, bonding, and building department. So all of this is going to take time. It's going to take many rounds of comments and other kind of discussions, maybe even work sessions. So this is not the only step in the process. So again, I gave this to the Planning Commission the other night, so they're very aware of what they're looking for, but the special use permit process, basically, we want to look, is the site going to work with its surrounding uses? How is traffic impacted? How's the overall development of the town impacted? Are we still conserving kind of our green spaces? How does it affect the general health, safety, and welfare of all of our residents here in town? So this is kind of listed out in our zoning ordinance. This is everything that we need to be looking at for our applications. And again, same thing with rezoning. Except for this, we want to start to look at the character of the area, the suitability for the different uses, also the trends of growth. How is our town going to grow in the future? What's going on outside of our town? How is it growing? How is it going to impact us? How is the traffic going to impact the site? And then also the conservation of the properties and what they were intended for, and going forward, the other uses. Let's get through that. So this is the GDP, the General Development Plan, that was submitted, but at this time I'm going to turn it over to our applicant who's here to talk more about it and everything that they're going to apply for.
My name is Don Wooden. I'm with Meladon Group, the applicant. Thank you, Town Council and the Planning Commission for having us here tonight. I think I just wanted to speak just for a few minutes about our vision for Crossroads Village Center. One of the things that when we started looking at the site is we started looking at the uses that the town had contemplated in their B2 zoning regulations. And we wanted to, keep in accord with the town in terms of traffic and impacts. We also were very cognizant of the massing and the density on the sites. So our vision really for Crossroads Village Center was to create a very homogeneous, very walkable, and we wanted to mass in terms of structure size, buildings that would resemble homes and would resemble, and when I say resemble in terms of size, if one of the things that's very traditional in our industry is to mass our buildings up into typically a very long rectangular building shape. It saves a lot of money. It saves a lot of effort, and it saves a lot of architectural review. Here you'll note that we've actually got many smaller buildings. They're four-sided buildings, so we have to pay very good attention to what do those buildings look like on all four sides, just as you would on your home. And so we can bring our scale and massing down to be in accordance with the town of Haymarket. So I think that's very important, increase the walkability. When we started looking at traffic, we thought, we wanted to try to, shed some of the traffic where we could and make the biggest impacts to the town of Haymarket where we could. So they'll talk a little more about it later, but the current uses that are by right by the town, the traffic generation could be as much as about 14,000 vehicle trips per day. And we just felt like that we wanted to bring that down along with the massing and the uses. So I think the proposed that we're showing here is going to generate roughly
8,500.
My glasses here.
8,500.
8,543, I believe, was the proposed. So not quite a 50% reduction in generation, but close to that. We wanted to focus on quality through materials. So some of our representative, illustrative images we're going to show you is very much in accordance with what we think being what Haymarket would adopt and feel very proud of. We've been to other smaller communities, Purcellville being one, and we've seen some projects there that we thought really were adopted well within the communities. So this is some illustrative images of what we're thinking on the building. So you can see that we got some nice earth tones, some metal roofing, some stone or brick, and of course lap siding, which is very much a history of most small communities that are built and developed in the 18 and 1900s. So we felt like that was important. Our desired uses, we really focused on trying to find uses that would be homogeneous with the town. And so that's one reason why we chose some smaller footprints on buildings. You'll see a lot of these buildings are 4,000 and 5,000 square feet. That's a perfect fit for medical office uses, for dental, for sit-down restaurants. It seems to be kind of a magic number between 4,000 and 5,000 square feet. So you'll note that several of these buildings are just that. So that's our desired best of categories for the property. To address the townhomes, obviously we wanted to stay in accordance. In terms of timing and how this has all been proposed is The application started back in 2014, and in 2014, 15, and 16, that's when things were going through the town. Comments were being made about the plan that was submitted. And so we basically picked that plan up, and we primarily made adjustments to the retail portion of the property. We chose some other types of uses that we thought would be in better liking to the town of Haymarket, and also for the uses that we thought would be a good marketable property. So with the towns in mind, one of the things, just to get your hands around this thing, is if you take the similar land area that the townhomes take up, we're talking about trip generations on the townhomes of about 550 vehicle trips per day. That's about 80 townhomes. If we were to take that same land area and plug in a by right use that the town has permitted us to do, which would be typically, let's say, a grocer with parking field. A grocer with parking field would generate about 4,300 vehicle trips per day in lieu of the 540 vehicle trips per day that the townhomes would generate. Part of that is the fact that we want it to be walkable. You know, we want the townhome residents to have all of these accessory uses that is walkable to them. We also want the town to be having access to these walkable retail uses as well. So it's very much in accordance with town planning these days, I think. I think mix of uses is a good thing to reduce traffic impacts for the town and also to create a very nice walkable environment for the people within it. Timing-wise, just so you kind of know my heart and kind of I'm not a local resident, but I only live about 15 minutes to the north of here on 15. So we come over here and do shop and frequent Haymarket. One of the things that we're trying to accomplish is we'd like to get in and start doing our site work by winter. We feel like that if we can do that, it will save us a lot of time and energy and get us an advanced start. Another thing that we're trying to do for the town and for Meladon is we're trying to get an advance on our competitive edge. There are two projects just to the west of here in Prince William County that are also going through the county for review and approvals. They have similar uses. There is a limited number of quality tenants out there, and we would like to capture those quality tenants, the best of the breed, so to speak, for Haymarket and for Meladon versus them going to a property that would be in Prince William County outside of the town, which the town obviously doesn't benefit from the tax base of that, nor do we. So we are right now a bit ahead of those applicants. One, of course, you probably have heard of is the Home Depot Center that they're planning to do. And then there's another smaller beside that with some smaller buildings and out parcels. So those are some reasons why we're trying to move things ahead and get a jump on the winter seasons. As we've said before, there's a lot of things to do after this meeting in terms of site plan approvals, going through architectural review boards and such. So we thank you so much. We really appreciate everybody coming tonight to hear us. And without further ado, I can turn that over to Giff here, our representative.
Good evening, members of the Town Council and Planning Commission. I'm Giff Hampshire. I'm from the law firm of Blankenship and Keith. And let me just take a minute to introduce our team. With me from the civil engineering side is Mike Massey and Ross France. And we have Chad Bard and Najera Chaparral from Grove Slade right across the street, right here in Haymarket. And we also have, of course, the owner representatives here. Igor Levine has also been working closely with us. As you all know, and as you just heard, this application really has been pending for a long time. And Mike Massey and I were involved from the beginning, back in 2014. And I see Marchant Snyder here in the room, and he was the town planner at the time. We actually had work sessions with the Planning Commission and the Town Council back in 2014 before we even submitted the application. And we heard the concerns about that were evident then, maybe some of the same concerns you're going to hear tonight about traffic and schools, and also the concern, the very real concern about how close are we getting to the 3,500 population threshold that is the threshold for a number of town services that the town would have to provide. I think you saw in the staff report in that regard that the estimated population is about 1,900, and with this application we're going to be just a little bit over 2,000. So I would submit that the council and the Planning Commission don't need to worry about that with respect to this application. I wanted to echo something that Emily said in her opening, and also that Don said, and that is that it is not a choice tonight between this application and another entitled use, precisely because the Town Council has zoned this property B2, and as you saw in Emily's presentation, the consequence of that, and in Don's presentation, the consequence of that is that there could be a lot of high density, high traffic, high impact uses on this site, precisely because the comprehensive plan and the ordinance require that. Now, what does a use by right mean? And I saw some discussion about this in last week's work session with the Planning Commission. A use by right is exactly that. No entitlement is required. That means there's no legislative discretion. All the application requires is site plan approval. Now, that is something. However, the law is well established that is a ministerial approval. If the applicant meets the zoning ordinance and meets the development ordinance, then the locality has to approve that application. So you have no discretion whatsoever. And so that's good to keep in mind. I think it's also good to keep in mind that that we have what's called here a downzoning, precisely for that reason. We are rezoning almost half of this acreage to residential, which for the very reasons that Don stated in terms of traffic impact, namely a reduction of almost 7,000 vehicle trips a day, means that this is a downzoning of a lesser traffic impact than could be done by right. And I don't think you often see those sorts of applications. So it's a very good application from that regard, from a public impact point of view. I would just like to note that also what's happened since we filed this application back in 2014 is something very significant, and that is that the Town Council has revised its zoning ordinance to be exactly compatible with what we're proposing tonight. Namely, it revised its zoning ordinance to allow townhouse use in the B2 district with not a rezoning, but with only a special use permit. It is also, as Emily stated, allowed accessory residential uses within the B2 zone as a matter of right. So we take those two decisions in the context of a zoning ordinance amendment as the exercise of legislative discretion by the Town Council to say, yes, we do want mixed use, we do want townhouse development within the B2 district. Maybe precisely because of the reasons Don mentioned, walkability, the ability to have a residential base for the customer use, the ability of residents to walk to convenience retail and other services without having to get in their cars. And that's exactly what we're proposing for you tonight. Now, you may be wondering, well, why didn't you, Melodon, pursue a special use permit? Why did you seek to continue with the rezoning effort for the townhouses? Well, our answer is that we wanted to continue the efforts that we started way back in 2014, 2015. We had extensive comments in 2015 that we responded to in 2016, and we felt that that was a good momentum to keep going. It was a good track record, and we have incorporated all of those comments into the 2018 application, or 2018 iteration of it. In fact, what we have done in 2018 is to actually reduce the number of townhouses from when we first started. When we first started, there were 120 townhouses. We've reduced those to 79. So not only is this a lesser impact in general from a use by right, but it's a lesser impact from the residential townhouse point of view than when we first started. There's also, and I was talking today with your town attorney and also with your town planner, Emily, there's another very significant benefit to the town by virtue of us continuing with the rezoning effort as opposed to the special use permit. And that is precisely because this application was filed in 2014, we are not bound by the more recent proffer legislation that came about in 2016 that limits the ability of the town to accept and the applicant to offer certain proffers. So we are able to offer the proffer package that we have offered, which includes about $813,000 towards schools, for example, and about $300,000 towards transportation, in addition to the construction of a traffic signal, precisely because we are not bound by the very rigorous limitations in the new proffer policy, the new proffer legislation, that require a nexus between the proffer and the impact of the development, and require some very expensive impact analysis by developers, and cause localities to be very chary about even talking about proffers with developers. So we're not bound by any of that. So that's another important aspect of this application. Now, in terms of, and let me just say, the proffers that we have offered were based back in 2014 as a starting point based upon the Prince William County levels of service. Those of you who have been around may have heard of those. That was something that had been in effect for about 20 years before that, which set forth a certain per unit contribution that was expected of developers as they came through the process. And we took those as a starting point for the proffer package that we have offered. With respect to transportation improvements, if you look at this exhibit, we feel that we, over and above the monetary contributions, we feel that we've offered some very significant transportation improvements that will be of great benefit to the town. Now, admittedly, they serve our development, but they also are going to help a lot with the general traffic on Washington Street, Route 55, as it go by. We have right turn lanes that you can see to get into our development that will help get the cars that are turning out of the traffic flow. We have a 4-foot, 6-inch high, 4-foot wide, 6-inch high traffic median that will protect the left turn lane from those who are in the right turn lane. We have a commitment to the construction of a traffic crosswalk and pedestrian signals that will protect pedestrians who are crossing to go to Foster's or some other establishment on the other side of the street. Perhaps most significantly, I think anyway, is that we're going to continue the sidewalk connection between Giuseppe's and Chick-fil-A in the same style that it exists now. That will provide another element of walkability, in addition to the walkability of the townhouses to the commercial section, the walkability from east to west and from west to east on Washington Street. We are also committing to, Emily, if you could go to the next slide. We engaged in an outreach effort in our most recent effort in 2018, and recently met with residents in Sherwood Forest and also in Dog's Day Out, the Paynes. We met with them, and I know they're here this evening. And we heard the concerns that were voiced about the juxtaposition of the townhouses next to the Sherwood Forest development and the other residents that are along Fayette Street. Now, there were basically two concerns, but the first one being we've got this big development next door. But please keep in mind when you're thinking about that, what could be put there by right, namely a commercial development next to a residential development instead of a residential development next to a residential development. So we start with the fact that the impact we think would be less than what we could do by right. But over and above that, we are committing to this variable width buffer that will be landscaped with the kind of trees and shrubs that you see down here. And you can see better, by the way, all these slides are back here in the room for the public to look at with maybe a little bit better resolution. We have shade trees, we have ornamental trees, we have shrubs. And in addition to that, we have a 6-foot chain link black vinyl fence that will do the other thing, in addition to the screening that we heard was a concern, and that is prevent cross-through between the townhouse and the commercial section to the west into the Sherwood Forest and to the other residents on Fayette Street. So we're committing to that. We are committing in the proffer statement to establish a homeowners association to maintain the common areas and the landscaping and that sort of thing. Now, in addition, you heard Don talk about the traffic impact and how it's actually less traffic in every application. I know that you all know this, and I certainly know it from my years in the profession. Traffic is always an issue. And I think you heard, and if you see, Emily, if you could go to the last slide there, it's number 7. This is table 1 of the traffic impact analysis, and I don't expect you necessarily to be able to see that. But this is an illustration, if you care to look in the traffic impact analysis, of what Don was talking about. When you compare what could be done by right to what we are doing, we are lessening the impact by 6,000 and some change vehicle daily trips. We think that's a significant benefit. And keep in mind also that the other part of the 2017 ordinance amendment was to do something also that's significant to tonight, and that is to make a supermarket a use by right in the B1. When we were coming through in 2014 under the old ordinance, a supermarket above 5,000 square feet was a special use. Now, someone could come along tomorrow and build a shopping center, a supermarket out there with all that attendant parking and all that attendant vehicle trips by right. So we think the shopping center, the supermarket was a good use before, but it does have the effect of increasing the traffic impact significantly over what we're proposing tonight. Emily, if you could go back to the townhouses there. Thank you. Don talked a little bit about the townhouses. We have a national builder who has committed to this sort of a prototype design. This gives you a rough idea of what the townhouses are likely to look at. They will be 20, some will be 20, some will be 24 feet. And Emily, if you go back to the colorized version, one more. All of them will be front-loaded, rear-loaded, except for the ones along the eastern line here, along the Sherwood Forest. And there will be drive aisles between them that will be limited private access in order to access those garages. Let me say just a little bit about schools, because in addition to traffic, schools is always the other concern, and justifiably so. I listened to the work session from last week. I also listened to the County Board of Supervisors hearing on John Marshall Commons. And in both cases, schools is justifiably a concern. We have the justifiable concern of Battlefield High School being at 143%. And there were some claims made during both of those hearings that the oncoming 13th high school will not provide relief. And I've checked that out with the schools. I checked that out today. That statement is not justified at this point, precisely because we don't have boundary information yet. But the one thing that you can say is that the 13th high school is designed to provide overcrowding relief to Battlefield, Patriot, and Stonewall high schools. How exactly that will work, we don't know yet, because the boundaries have not been established. It's premature to do that. The other very significant point I want to make about the schools, and we found this out just this afternoon. Emily and I both got the same email from the planning people in the schools. And that is, again, because this application has been in the works since 2014, the schools has taken its impact. In fact, it took a greater impact of 87 townhouses, has taken that impact into its projections already. So if any of you have seen the chart that shows the capacity rates that's in the school's CIP on the school's website that shows 143%, for example, for Battlefield, and on up through 2023, those percentages, at least with respect to the out years, when this development is likely to be in place, if it's approved, has already factored in these townhomes. In fact, it has factored in 6 more townhomes than what we're proposing to do here. Another point I'd like to make about school impact is that when you look at the school's CIPs, you look specifically at Appendix B to the school CIP, you will see that the generation rates for townhouses is skewed heavily towards elementary schools. For each townhouse that's built, according to the school's generation rates, 0.299 students would be generated to elementary schools versus 1.44 to middle schools and I didn't write it down, but I think it's 1.67 to high schools. And based on that, you have about 23 students from townhouses going to elementary schools versus about 16 or 17 going to high school and about 11 to middle. So the schools has told us that the major impact here is going to be on the elementary school. And guess what? The elementary school that these children will go to is Haymarket Elementary. When you look at the school's capacity chart in its CIP, you will see that Haymarket Elementary is currently below capacity. It's at 87.2%, and it's going to stay below capacity into 22-23. It will get to 95.6%. And again, this development has already been factored into those numbers. We also got just today some comments from the county, most of which, or one very significant one of which we've already taken care of, and that is that the county said that we did not take landscaping into account enough. And since that time, we have proposed that buffer that I just talked about with Sherwood Forest. The county also wants us to consider plantings consistent with the county's journey from hollowed ground, which you all may know goes from Gettysburg to Monticello, and it goes through Prince William County, and we will commit to do that to the extent possible. Keep in mind that's along 15. We don't have a lot of frontage on 15 except at the interchange, but we're going to try to work to see what we can do on that. The county was also concerned that this development was too automobile-oriented, and if we had a chance to talk with the county about it, we would take issue with that, because for the very reasons that Don stated and I've stated, we have a walkable site, walkability in 2 ways. One, from the townhouses to the retail service section, which we hope will be used, and also walkability east-west through the sidewalk connection between Giuseppe's and Chick-fil-A. In conclusion, we think we have a good development that is, number one, a downzoning, a lesser impact from what can be done by right, one that takes into account the town's vision about a walkable site that where people don't have to get into their cars, and also one that honors the concerns that the neighbors have voiced with respect to the landscaping and the other impacts. And we have our team here to answer any other questions. If you have specific traffic questions, we have Chad from Gross Slade, and engineering questions, we have Mike Massey from Ross France, and I stand ready to answer any questions as well.
All right, sir. What we'll do is continue with our agenda here. We have a referral to the Planning Commission. This is just a little bit of matter of housekeeping.
Thank you. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2018-003, resolution directing the Planning Commission to act on the pending rezoning application for Crossroads Village Center within 30 days. Whereas Virginia Code 15.2-2285B provides that the governing body of a locality may set a period of time not greater than 100 days for a planning commission to submit its recommendations regarding a proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance. And whereas Crossroads Village Center has submitted a rezoning application for 15150 Washington Street, REZ number 2018-004, which the Town Council has referred to the Planning Commission for consideration, and whereas the Town Council wishes to have the Planning Commission to submit its recommendation for approval or denial of the proposed rezoning within 30 days. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council hereby re-refers this matter to the Planning Commission to return a recommendation to the Town Council for approval or denial within 30 days of the adoption of this resolution. Done this 21st day of May, 2018.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. Discussion on the motion?
Yes, could the attorney please define act? Is that the approval or denial? Taking action for approval or denial?
Yes, sir. Now therefore be it resolved requires that the Planning Commission return a recommendation for approval or denial within 30 days.
And what happens if the Planning Commission does not act?
Then it's deemed to be an approval.
Thank you.
Discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Casanello.
No?
Shannon.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, our next is going to be our public hearing. And we have a lot of new folks here, and I want to thank you all for coming out. There is a little bit of etiquette for public hearing, just for everyone to know. We actually even have a memo up there just kind of going over the basics of a public hearing. What a public hearing is being able to hear from the residents, and for the record, we'd like for you to give your name and your address for the record. But a public hearing is that it's not a question and answer at this time. This is a time just to hear from you and hear your comments. But if you had any specific questions, then I would direct you after the meeting to talk to the appropriate parties, whether or not, if they're still here, the Meladon or planning commissioners or whoever that you'd like to. Mainly, usually, our town staff is who you would direct your questions to, and they would be able to help answer those specific questions. So with that, we like to keep it between 3 and 5 minutes, but I'm not aware where I've actually pulled somebody off the podium there from speaking. I think it's important that we hear you. You've taken your time out of your day to come up here, and we definitely would like to hear your comments. But there again, it's not a question and answer. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Cottle to go ahead and open yours, and then I'll open mine, and then we'll hear the comments.
All right, this time I would like to open the Planning Commission part of the public hearing. As was already stated, when you come up to the podium, if you just state your name and address, and if you could limit it to no more than 5 minutes, just to respect everybody's time.
Okay. And then also, we're going to go ahead with no objection, open up our public hearing jointly for the town council. So at this time, we have a sign-up list. Go ahead and start with that. Mr. Weir of 6853 St. Paul is first up to speak.
Members of both boards, Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive, and that resolution you just did was stunning and telling. And I would question or have the town attorney address the issue of what happens if the application is not ready for action by the Planning Commission, if it's determined insufficient at this point, something to keep in mind. I'm going to present the alternate view tonight and some other options and some deficiencies. As noted by the town planner last week, the rezoning is not in compliance with the comp plan, specifically Chapter 3.4, page 92, and thus requires a comp plan amendment. The lack of such amendment appears to be a recurring theme in town applications of late. The site is delineated for commercial development to offset the residential tax burden. Transforming commercially planned parcels to residential uses is the same failed strategy that Prince William County is seemingly adopting. There's no proffered phasing for the plan, allowing for the construction of the residential units before the commercial component, allowing for a scenario we've seen play out time and again in Prince William County, when the commercial component is never constructed but rather converted to even more residential use. This application was presented to a local developer, as well as every other developer that I'm aware of in Loudoun and Prince William County. They all turned it down, and they suggested that that is what would happen with this application. The various SUP applications are incomplete. They do not include detailed narratives, plats, or proffered conditions for traffic flow, dumpster pads, landscaping, signage, lighting, hours of operation, etc. Staff seems unaware that the SUP process allows the town to dictate those conditions and even allowable uses to some degree. The TIA estimates 8,500 vehicle trips per day. I suspect that's actually low, and only puts 5% of it on Route 55, which I find ridiculous. A similar assertion was made several years ago with regard to the Walmart traffic, and we all saw how that worked out. Additionally, you've got intersections at Route 15 and Route 55, as well as Washington Street and Leebury Way already in an LOS of F at times during the day. I suspect this increased traffic will make that even worse, particularly given that the townhouses will be dumping peak hour traffic in as people leave and come back from work, leave to and come back from work. It also leaves out the traffic factor added by the construction of the 150 UVA foundation homes, which are breaking ground this month, as well as the Home Depot project down Route 55. The review is premature, given that the final VDOT comments have not been received. And to my knowledge, at least as of this morning, no comments have been received by the Service Authority, Fire Department, Prince William County School Division, et cetera, et cetera. As a result, the staff report is incomplete and notably does not include any analysis of the impact on the schools or water supply, as well as only a cursory analysis of the traffic impact. Given the TIA presumes 8,500 vehicle trips per day, that's unacceptable. The first round of VDOT comments are significant and likely require significant revisions to the TIA, particularly with regard to what the total amount of traffic is post-development. There's little to no provision for office space or office condos that would support the hospital, as the SUP uses and the townhouses take up the majority of the site. Office condos in the rear would provide a better tax base for the town, require fewer services, and comport with the comp plan. Additionally, as the plan as presented does not have complementary residential and commercial uses, making it far from a work, live, and play environment. Up until this morning, there were no vegetative buffers or landscaping, and there still is none shown between the residential and the commercial components. But I would note that the student generation rate for accessory apartments is significantly lower than townhouses for anybody that's concerned about the school population. The limited parking and restrictive traffic flow will likely preclude upscale dining at the 4th restaurant pad. Parking will necessarily decrease when dumpster pads and service areas currently not shown are added to the plat. And I have concerns as to whether the travelways can accommodate Prince William County's fire and rescue equipment. The proposed height of the townhouse differs in the narrative and the proffers. While the narrative language comports with the zoning ordinance, the proffer language does not. And I would note that the proffers control, and if adopted, would constitute a variance without going through the process. That needs to be corrected. The much ballyhooed school proffers are insufficient. They're roughly 57% of the current ones. Yes, they're going to give you $846,000, but that doesn't note that it's $546,000 less than they would pay in the county. Battlefield is currently at 141.2%. 846 students over. And yes, the county just approved John Marshall Commons. And they've got a variety of other applications coming before them in the very near future. Woodburn Estates, the Latsios property, some more conversion up at Dominion. And I'm very familiar with the school generation numbers, very familiar with the 13th High School. In fact, I work closely with both the Brentsville and the Gainesville school board members. And the 13th High School, at least under current projections, will not provide relief to Battlefield. It may provide some relief to Patriot, but mostly to Stonewall Jackson. And because of the impending construction along the Linton Hall corridor, that's where the vast preponderance of that student population is going to come from.
And we're at 5 minutes.
I'm almost done.
Okay, thank you.
I question how the proposed uses are compatible with the vision of a walking town. This plan has all the hallmarks of a poorly laid out strip mall that would make the town indistinguishable from the strip development going down 55. Where's the vehicle storage area for the auto repair shop? Where's the parking? It seems inadequate compared to Piedmont. Where's Dominion's hybrid option or the overhead option shown on the plat, which will restrict where they can build because of the easements? The process used for this application appears unduly rushed, again, noting tonight's resolution, particularly given the incomplete nature of the application package. And I would suggest that the application should be returned to the town planner by the Planning Commission and further consideration deferred until such time as a complete package and all comments are received by the town and a detailed, full analysis of all of the impacts are received. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment. Next up is Kathy Shalvey, sorry.
Thank you to the Council and Planning Commission for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kathy Shalvey. I live at 6748 Blight Drive in Haymarket, and I am speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Tim. We are very much in support of new commercial and residential development in the town of Haymarket, including the Crossroad Village Center, and we understand that it will provide beneficial resources to the town in many ways. However, we do have concerns regarding the proposal and the request for both rezoning and special use permits. Starting with the special use permits, I know the town staff has worked hard to bring this opportunity to town and has presented as well as the developers, a comprehensive assessment. And I think it looks great, from looking at it in the presentation tonight. I like the idea of mixed use space. The proposal's well-designed, seems to maximize the property to its fullest capacity. But this is a central part of town that has great potential to attract residents both in town and out, and the special use permits will allow for 3 drive-through, and I confirmed that when I came in tonight, that it is 3 drive-through, which will most likely be fast food restaurants, a drive-through bank, and an auto repair shop with cars coming and going. I thought the goal was to make Haymarket a walking town and maintain its status as a heel community. Drive-through restaurants encourage driving through. That's why they're called drive-through restaurants, not walking in. There's already a Chick-fil-A, a McDonald's, a Subway, and a Sheetz. Do we want this part of Haymarket to be a strip of fast food chains? Even with proper planning, with lanes and lights, people won't want to walk there. They'll be dodging a constant flow of cars coming in and out of these drive-through. And I noticed there were 3 of them on there showing the drive around, even with sidewalks. Not to mention how it will impact the bike lane. And that traffic won't just be local. It'll be people getting in and off of 66 and using Haymarket as a pit stop rather than a destination with all these fast food restaurants, right, concentrated in one area. I'm sure the proposal includes more drive-through restaurants because of the required amount of parking that would be necessary for larger capacity sit-down type restaurants. So why not have fewer small restaurants with enough parking, or a couple of smaller walk-in only eateries? B2 includes restaurant small and restaurant general already. Why change it to include drive-through with the special permits? I don't understand that. To be clear, I think the other 2 special use permits requests for hotel, height, and auto shop are appropriate for this space. And then the only other concern I had was with the rezoning, and I do think this looks like a nice use. I love the idea of townhouses and being able to walk into an area with retail and restaurants, but my only concern with that is that if the council and planning commission are quick to change the rezoning here, who's to say they won't change a B1 on the other end of town to a B2, or an R1 on the other end of town to a B1? If we're using this good B2 space for residential, who's to say we're not going to bring more business to the other end of town, which is my second concern. So to close, we think that a large development in this location is a great opportunity, but we ask that the Council and Planning Commission carefully consider the implications of 3 additional drive-through restaurants and what they will bring to the town image, as well as the traffic considerations and how it is in keeping with the town goals.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next up, Jim and Andrea Payne.
Hi, my name is Jim Payne, 15073 Valhalla Court, Haymarket, also 6680 Fayette Street, A Dog's Day Out. We met with Igor and his lawyer, and we are very much in favor of this development. We think it will provide good use to the town, it will provide functionality. We like that it's walking. I know they're going to have some hoops to go through as far as what needs to be in place, but I believe they're in the right place. They want to, as we did, we want to bring some functionality. We want to provide the town with a needed service. We want to fit in, as well as they would like to as well. So both Andrea and I would very much favor this.
Just to add, the economical development that would occur for the town of Haymarket would help everybody from a tax perspective, so it would lower the taxes for the residents in the town if they're bringing in the additional taxes that they would get from the restaurants and from the potential hotel site as well. So we are very much in support of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Next up, Marchant Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is it possible to put up a graphic of the concept plan? Oh, okay. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way. So, thank you, Roberta. Marchant Schneider, I live at 14811 Rising Sun Lane. Had some general comments and then wanted to talk about the evolution of this project from the time when I was town planner and zoning administrator. First of all, I'm general support of this concept. I do have some suggestions or refinements to clarify or refine the commitments and phasing to ensure that we're compatible with our neighbors and do not overwhelm the traffic network. First of all, wanted to say kudos to Emily. She's taken on much more roles and responsibilities than I had when I was a town planner and zoning administrator. So I think with limited experience and knowledge of the town, she's taken the torch and run with it. So, and she's also tolerated my, when I was a town planner stories, tactfully listened and got off the conversation when it seemed appropriate. With disclosure, I worked with Mr. Wooden in Loudoun County. He developed a project called Cascades Overlook. That required a rezoning, several use permits. I guess he would argue it was a tough negotiation. A lot of the conversation revolved around transportation, design, layout, and phasing. It is an award-winning project. If you have a chance to look at it, Google it, and you'll get a chance to see a lot of the elements that are incorporated there. This project is an evolution. The 8 years that I was zoning administrator, much of the challenges with this property, it's deep and it's long. So folks that came in were either wanted to build as a big box retailer. Walmart at one point looked at the site. Wegmans at one point looked at the site. Cabela's had actually vetted the site at one point, and that would lend itself to being such a large land area. Absent of that, what you're really left with is smaller users that need high visibility, either from the interchange or along Washington Street. So that leaves, what do you do with the balance of the property? So in concept, this was something we felt we could work with and present to the council as a workable project in concept. You'll see here a lot of the interparcel connections. That was a function of trying, there was some fore planning or advanced planning on the Coral Center to incorporate this parcel, and they've received that, as you can see, with the 2 interparcel connections. The travel way back to the corner, as you can see, it's difficult to get back in there. So a lot of the time and energy was spent on trying to create a more logical entrance into the site. I think original plan had it up into the residential, was going through the residential to the commercial, and this seemed a viable option as an alternative and separate to the degree possible those 2 uses. So again, circulation plan and interparcel access was a key point. In terms of the planned land use, I think a lot of times the town is schizophrenic in the sense that it's trying to play to many masters. This is planned interchange park. A lot of our revenue is based on pass-through traffic. And the designation of this was to capture that drive-by traffic. And if you look at the plan policy, it was really meant to capture auto-oriented uses planned in a logical fashion around organized travelways and parking. It's much different than what's meant by the downtown we have here, which is semantics, but when they're calling this a village center, I would argue this is village center, which is meant to behave in a different way. Walkable, pedestrian-friendly, pedestrian scale versus the interchange park on the west end of town. I do have some concerns about the commitments in the plan and also the phasing. My training looks at the who, what, when, and how. This is some examples with the play area and the tot lot. It's listed as a possible amenity. I would suggest that in the proffers it's clear who's going to build it, when they're going to build it, by what time is it going to be open. Same with the screening. They've outlined the screening tonight again, by what permit is it going to happen, when's it going to be installed, and who's going to maintain it. Same with the sidewalks. We talk about completing the sidewalk along Washington Street. It's not clear when that would happen. And I think both for the benefit of the applicant and the town, those expectations need to be clear right off the bat. Traffic signal at the intersection, by some background, Chick-fil-A was an interesting project. When it came in as a special use permit, it overwhelmed the intersection. But that was before the interchange was built and that intersection was improved. They put that application on hold. They waited for the design to be complete. They reincorporated in their traffic impact analysis, shown to have an acceptable level of service. That also resulted in them changing the layout. The original layout of Chick-fil-A was parallel to Washington Street. They moved it perpendicular and allowed for more stacking through the drive-through, and it was meant to reduce a lot of the traffic circulation. This amount of drive-through makes me nervous, even if it's a drop in traffic in terms of overwhelming it. So my suggestion would be looking at working with the county transportation staff, look at their expertise, look at how John Marshall Commons has been brought into the study, looking how the Home Depot project is, to make sure first we have good accurate data, and second we have a logical evolution of the property. It's not to say deny it, it's to say that let's make sure that these improvements are in place before each of these special use permits come online. Lastly, parking. My example in terms of the auto repair is looking at Piedmont. Piedmont and the Iceplex came as one site plan or one property. During the evolution of the ice rink, they asked for a parking reduction. Well, as many of you know, Ms. Daisy Wood came back in and now needs more parking, bought the backside of Winterham, and is now using that for there. So in terms of the intensity of use, I would suggest that some time be spent on looking at how these property or these uses interact and making sure that we have enough parking to answer the need.
You're about 5 minutes now, sir.
So that's all I have. Again, I think this is a concept we're supporting with a little bit more time and effort, and I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. All right, and now it's the time to open it up for anyone else that would like to address the council. Just please, your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Joe Castaneda, 15001 Gossip Manor Place, Sherwood Forest. I want to first say thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you for the presentation on the development. As mentioned by many others, I am excited about this project, many of the ideas it may be able to bring to the town, though I do have some concerns. I actually read the traffic report analysis, all 210 pages of it. And it's a great report, lots of information, but there was one kind of really big, glaring omission from it. And it's not their problem, it's because the data's not here yet. And a Dog's Day Out is coming onto Fayette. That's going to bring, per the owners and to the council, roughly around 30 cars during the peak hours, AM and PM, which match the traffic study. Now, the traffic study identified certain areas that would have to have some type of mitigation. Going up Fayette from St. Paul's has many different avenues to get to the signal light. On Fayette, that doesn't exist. So if you look at the analysis, it would drop our analysis from Class D to basically Class F, which basically means we're going to have a lot of buildup on there, which is not good for the new business going there because not many people are going to want to take their dog to daycare when they can't get out of the street there. So one of the things I propose for consideration is what we talked about when we first talked about this project, Dog's Day Out, to have that connection from a Dog's Day Out to this new area. That back area will allow personnel to come in here to the Dog's Day and also to leave Dog's Day to the dedicated light there that will allow them to get out. Therefore, all the traffic's not stuck on Fayette. People can go and out. And maybe even us residents back there in the back of Sherwood Forest also can have a chance to get out, if possible. The one last thing I have to say is on the special permit for the auto place, I will have to say I am, a big fan of Piedmont. And I am a loyal customer. They don't work for them, but I'm a loyal customer. Piedmont has a great reputation here in this town, and to be quite honest, for most of Prince William. Anytime anything comes up on the board, who you want to go to, it's Piedmont. So I am a little concerned about opening up another special permit for another auto place when we have such a great one already in town who already contributes to the town as a whole. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else would like to speak?
I talked so much I wanted to wait till everyone else spoke. Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. I'm a pro-development person, so under normal circumstances, I would, and I am anyway, supportive of this project. There are some things that concern me, and at least the two previous speakers raised some of those, and they did an excellent job. I was very impressed. What concerns me is what this is going to look like. I've lived in the town for 46 years, in the county for 3 additional ones, so 50 years in Prince William County. And I've heard traffic in schools, traffic in schools, traffic in schools. Traffic can be a problem, but this town has grown up in the last 30 years, and we've heard concerns about traffic that never halted us. We're still moving. Another traffic light, the turn lanes, I think are positive. What I'm concerned about, I'm glad that it's a mixed use, that there's a combination of commercial and residential. I agree with a couple of the previous people that the drive-through restaurants are not a good idea. As I've traveled back and forth to Florida many times in the last 20 years, what I saw people enjoying getting off of 66 was diners, somewhere where they can go in and sit down, and but to just have that corner, in addition to Walmart, become a drive-through circulation system is scary to me. I know that the roads have been improved on 15, but even that's a little scary to me. People don't always know where they're going. I think we have as many accidents as we ever had. The final thing that I'm very concerned about is what this project is going to look like. We have a historic overlay in place. It goes from one end of this town to the other end. I'm vehemently opposed to the whole town center concept. We're a half a square mile. How big is that you would single out one little piece right in the middle? That historic overlay goes from one end to the other. It's been tried to be done away with in the past. It didn't work. I just talked to a woman this afternoon who's involved in the tourism of Prince William County. She moved into the town of Haymarket 8 years ago, and that was one of the things she said she loved, that it was a strolling town, and that we had the historic overlay in place. So I just want to remind people that it matters what this looks like. I didn't make the rules. I did commission the original Historic Commission, and I was a founding member on that commission. I want to say that there were other foundations, historic foundations, but the original Historic Commission was elderly women, some of them older than I am now, and that's pretty old, but they were, they did a lot of research, years of research, and they came up with the recommendation that we choose the colonial style because we dated back to the colonial period. So we got brick sidewalks and street lights that fit with that, and even our planters had a colonial theme. We have a mixture of bricks and wood. I heard you mention wrap siding. I don't know what kind of siding you were talking about. I want us to look good from 66, the same as we're going to look good from Washington Street. I want us to have a colonial theme. I don't want to see any more properties built or approved in this town that don't fit with the town. People used to say to me, "What are you trying to save? There's nothing there." Well, now we have something here. Yes, we were burned to the ground during the Civil War, but we're building ourselves back.
We're at
and
about
we have
5
a
minutes.
touch, thank you, sir.
Okay.
We have a touch of class. The final thing I want to say is, as we improve, let's have black wrought iron fences, not black plastic chain link fences, please.
All right. And thank you for your comments. Anyone else? This is your time. I see a lot of people out there. Thank you. Hi, Ms. Bannon.
Susan Bannon, 6938 Jockey Club Lane. I have a couple statements that I wanted to say for myself, but I also have a statement from a friend who couldn't be here. If I could read that as well, is that okay?
Sure. See no objection. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Just if they can give their name and address for the record, that would be
Yes,
awesome.
I'll do mine first.
Great. Thank you.
You know, ever since Walmart came, we've had a traffic problem, and I know some of that has been alleviated by the interchange, but certainly Chick-fil-A has brought in a whole more larger traffic problem, and sadly, that intersection is very dangerous. I feel like I take my life in my hands. My child, who is a new driver, I'm concerned about turning out of there. People do U-turns there constantly, coming from Sheetz, and it's just difficult to make a turn, a left-hand turn out of that area. I've also seen, just last week, a man actually heading out of Sheetz, turn into the turning lane that goes into Sheetz from westbound 55. So making illegal turns just because traffic is so terrible at this point, and that intersection is so dangerous. I actually, when Chick-fil-A first opened, I told my kids that I didn't want them going there. I'd prefer them to go up the street to Gainesville because it's a safer drive. You know, as far as the town, like Dottie said, you know, we have a historic feel. We've fought many years since we moved here in 2000. Everybody has fought to keep all of those historic buildings. And to see this town center come and change the complete vibe and the feel of this walking town would be very sad. You know, even on the builder's website, it says it's a somewhat walking town. So they're not even considering it a walking town anymore. It's going to be a somewhat walking town. So I think that's very sad. So I have a statement from Paula King. She lives at 6934 Little John Court, Haymarket. She's sorry she can't be here tonight. She's attending an award ceremony at Battlefield High School. I'll just read this the way she has it. I would encourage all our elected officials to hear their constituents this evening and take our concerns to heart. I am asking that you reject all of the special use permits that have been brought forth by the Crossroads Village project. Please ask yourself this very important question. Does it fit? Dottie echoed the same thing. Do we need 5 fast food restaurants in a half square mile town? Does it fit with the image Haymarket wants to have? Do we want to be a fast food destination? I certainly don't want to live in a town of a half square mile that has 1 fast food restaurant per 392 residents. If you reject the drive-through applications, the likelihood of 3 fast food restaurants coming into town diminishes. Do we need a hotel? Does it fit into our streetscape and landscape? If you choose to approve a 75-foot building, it will become our landmark. It will become what people see from the interstate. It will be what people see when they enter our town. Does it fit? According to the town website, we have 7 auto repair, auto sales companies in town already. Do we need more? Why? Does it fit? We are not underserved. We have 7 options. At the recent planning meeting, the town planner made it sound like we don't have a choice. Haymarket is known to be fiercely protective of how the town looks. Why now are we willing to compromise and jump through hoops without due diligence for Milledon? We do have a choice. Do you want us to believe the only way to get sidewalks is to approve multiple fast food restaurants and write a blank check? Historically, Haymarket has been known as the crossroads. I would challenge you as a planning commission and the town council that we are at another crossroads, and I encourage you not to become another Reston, another Mosaic district. It is true we don't have control over Prince William County, what they approve outside the town limits. However, we do have a say over what is approved within the town limits. Please reject all Crossroads Village Center special permit use applications. I also feel the timing is precarious with the recent election. I wish I knew this before I voted. I would have asked more questions. On our town website, Haymarket is described as minutes from hustle and bustle to our east. Why bring the hustle and bustle to our backyards? Does it fit? The zoning is to protect us from hustle and bustle. If this is passed, you'll be certainly changing the website, perhaps welcome to Haymarket, where you'll live in the midst of hustle and bustle. Thank you.
All right, and thank you. Anyone else? All right, with no objection, we're going to go ahead and close the town council part of our public hearing. I'll turn it over to Chairman Cottle.
All right, thank you. Any other citizens? Again, appreciate you coming out. Now's your chance to address the town council and the planning commission. All right, seeing none, we will close the planning commission's part of the public hearing. All right, next up is the planning commission discussion and action. So I have a microphone here. I will pass it around. We'll start to my right. And then, based upon what I hear, I will make a recommendation.
I don't know if the people in the audience have seen the SUPs. They're anywhere from 3 to 6 pages, and they say on them restaurant drive-in or bank drive-in. This is one SUP of over 50 pages for Prince William for a Burger King. It specifies the restaurant. It specifies everything. Let me read some of the things it specified, because I went through it just to see what the specifics, because there are absolutely none on these SUPs. It says the name of the restaurant, so we know what it is, the hours of operation, number of outdoor lanes, outdoor speakers, signage. It has examples. It has examples of building elevations, not illustrative like this. I don't know if these are what we're going to get, specific for the SUP. You know, you can't just give something that illustrates if it's not specific. It has landscaping, refuse storage area, where they're going to put those trash bins. There's going to be trash with a tire store or an auto store. Water quality monitoring, fire rescue coverage input, lighting, because houses nearby, what kind of lighting is going to be impacted by the stores. Property maintenance, including graffiti, security measures, police input, obstructions with buildings, transportation, daily vehicle trips. We've had some shared parking, pedestrian access that's clear, water sewer line connections, zoning land use, consistency with the comprehensive plan, we know it's not. Community input. I could go on. I went through this, and we've heard other things, Dottie Historic Overlay. Because of this, I maintain that our SUPs lack specific details, essentials, analysis, thorough evaluation. I don't feel I can evaluate this at all because it's incomplete. I can't do due diligence. So I would like to make a motion that it be handed back to the planner to have all of these issues addressed and clearly outlined prior to our consideration.
Thank you.
I have to echo those same concerns. This is basically unfinished. The idea of having this type of development represent Haymarket really bothers me. We can't be just fast food restaurants and auto places. If that's all we are, you know, why bother having a planning commission? You don't need it. Do we really have to have somebody put in our sidewalks now? Why? You mean Haymarket can't put in its own sidewalks? We have to do better than that. This is ludicrous. I'd like to think, too, that I believe it was either Susan or the note she read from Paula King. Does it fit? Haymarket has such a tremendous reputation. I don't want it to be represented by a 75-foot hotel. It just isn't necessary. There's an eyesore of a motel down next to BJ now. I don't know if that's, 75 feet. I do know it's ugly as sin. And that's surrounded by a box store and a mall rather than the town of Haymarket. I think we have to do a lot better than what we have so far tonight.
I want to thank you very much for your presentation and for everybody who made a comment. I, value what you have to say. I do want to feel that the four-sided buildings that I have seen, that you have shown, I truly like. I do agree with the county that we need a lot more green space. If this is supposed to be a walking town, I would love to see places where people could walk, maybe have some benches, sit outside and have something to eat instead of people sitting in their cars waiting for food. I think that with the median income of over $120,000 per family, and you have working families, that we could come up with something, I think, a lot nicer. I mean, you're this side of 29. You have Piedmont, Parks of Piedmont, Dominion Valley, you have Leopold's Reserve. You have a lot of people who would rather not go over to Gateway. And I think that we've missed a little bit because you could capture those people and keep them right here in Haymarket. So I'm hoping that maybe we can kind of step outside the box and really come up with something really, really fine for Haymarket. And also, we were talking about the historic part of Haymarket, and this area is considered in the Buckland Battlefield Study Area, so we need to take that into consideration. So I really think that, let's add some green space, let's maybe think about another way to really utilize the property. But I do like the single buildings. I think that part is really nice. Also, I know we talked about the green space. There's a play area with the daycare, and I like that. Do we know if it's going to be an assisted living or a hotel? We don't. Okay, because that's a big factor. Being a nurse, I retired. I worked at assisted living, and those people enjoy their green space. Right now, I don't see any there. And then my other concern is the Dominion Valley. They haven't decided on their final placement, whether it be overhead or underground, the power lines. I don't know if you guys have been in touch with them, but I think that's, okay, an important part of things. And also the schools, you know, I'm still concerned about the schools. But I'm glad that you addressed some of those concerns, and I'll pass the baton.
Thank you so much for coming in and explaining detail about you. I have read all the information. My main concern is school, green space, buffer with the Sherwood Forest, and I'm positive with economic development in here. And main concern is a hotel. I'm sorry, a restaurant, fast food restaurant. And if we bring something dine-in, that will be nice in there. So that fast food restaurant will bring more traffic, and traffic is the main concern. All other equals with other members of Planning Commission. That's the only I have.
All right.
Steve Shannon's on the commission.
Sorry about that, sir.
It'll be, you can record this because it's kind of my same feeling sitting up here on the dais. First of all, great presentation. And I'll speak not only for myself, but my constituents in Sherwood Forest, where I also reside, and the residences on Fayette. A couple of comments tonight really resonated, really hit home with me. One of the things that I'm one of the new kids on the block around here, only been in town a couple of years. Wife and I chose this town. We love it, everything about it. One of the first things we heard was the term walking town. So that's near and dear to me. So I did not write down the names of the speakers tonight, but it really hit home when she talked about the fast food restaurants versus sit restaurants. I walk down to El Vaquero, Foster's, or wherever, the wife and I, with our grandkids when they're over, which is a lot. And it's a nice feeling knowing we can walk there, we can sit down and eat. I'm not really crazy about fast food restaurants in this town because of what I heard tonight. So that I have that concern. The schools, I may not have school-age children living with us, but obviously that's a concern because I have my son and daughter that are both educators. And I know what the overpopulations at the schools, but that's a fact of life. That's going to happen. I liked Dottie's comment about the black iron fence versus the chain link. Again, we've had this discussion with wrought iron fences along Washington Street and all. I will say, and kind of having for my other hat, the brick sidewalks, I love that staying in concert with the rest of the town. I really like that. But it needs to be understood that would be the town's responsibility to maintain those sidewalks, not VDOT. That's above and beyond what VDOT does. I speak that because that's where I work. So my proposal there would be, if that comes to fruition, that we try to work a deal where the town doesn't have to maintain that portion down there, that it would be Melodon or whoever. So I am 100% in favor of the program. When we moved in, I was hoping there were wetlands behind me so you couldn't build. Not the case. It's only wet when it rains. So I am for the project. Let me say, I'm not opposed to it. I've had the opportunity to meet with the two gentlemen, with my HOA president, not as a councilman, or the liaison to the planning commission. We addressed our concerns. I'm confident we're gonna find that happy medium there. So my biggest concern is fast food restaurants. So that's all I have.
All right. Did I forget any other commissioners since we're two-tiered double-decker here? All right. Well, first of all, I want to again thank each one that came out. You know, if you look at this project, and I'm not going to take you a history lesson of Haymarket because I remember riding horses here at 5 and 6 years old before 66 was ever built. And I remember coming through here with Gossham's store on the way to Woodstock. So, I mean, none of us can argue that Haymarket's grown. I mean, that's just a fact. If we were still the little sleepy town of Haymarket, pretty much everybody in this room would not be living in the house they're currently living in. That's the reality. My family moved here in Green Hill, and that was being built in the mid to late 1990s. And I heard the same objections about Haymarket then as I do now. It's always traffic in schools. And then when the other subsequent communities went in, it was traffic in schools. Sadly, we're in a time period where there's going to be traffic and the schools are going to be overcrowded. I'm a public school teacher in the middle of the county, and pretty much every school is overcrowded. That's a fact. But with that said, we need to do our due diligence. And, you know, we all need to be careful about our personal opinions, and we need to look at our laws and zoning ordinances. We all have our personal opinions. And I think you heard some of those expressed tonight, which I can appreciate. But again, we need to look at what's on the books, because as many people that are in here, if we all designed a project and we put it up there, we'd probably all hear the same objections. So with that said, you know, town planner, I think you've heard some pretty common threads. There were 8 folks who spoke. And as I look down through this, we had 3 against it. We had 4 support it with reservations, and 1 supported it with no reservations that I can recall. So it's kind of 4-3-1, if you will. But I think there are some things that, as I wrote down some common threads, that I would like you to go back to the developer. I mean, one of the biggest objections I heard was drive-throughs versus sit-downs. So if you could go back to them, and I believe it was Commissioner Carroll, Mr. and Mrs., they both talked about the traffic analysis and driving through. I think that's something to definitely look at. Mr. Marchant, who has spent a lot of time, he does this by trade, talked about tot lot screening and sidewalks. You know, what type of guarantees, not potential. I think we need to be careful approving things that could include, but aren't necessarily emphatically included. We need to look at that. Auto repair, I heard we had 6 or 7 in town. A free market enterprise, competition's good, it drives down costs, but I think, you know, looking at what type of auto repair they're proposing and some of the questions about storage and things of that nature, I think obviously are relevant. Did I forget anything else? Those were what I had written down. Okay, right. And phasing of the project, about residential versus commercial. Last thing we want is to build up residential and have a bunch of empty pads. There's a lot of space in the county, especially if you drive through Gainesville, of still trying to lease commercial space. But again, any project is going to have unforeseen things because you can't promise, and I appreciate you're not promising certain people because frankly you don't have the ability to do that. None of us do. All you can do is propose concepts, which I frankly think you did a really good job. I don't agree with it all, but I think you did a really good job. So what I would like to do, unless there's objections, obviously there's no way that we can recommend to the town council tonight up or down. We would not be doing, if we had approved it, we wouldn't be doing due diligence. If we rejected it, we need to take a serious look at this. And if you could go back to the applicant with some of the questions, and unless there is an objection, I would just like to reconvene. We're already scheduled to meet. If you all pull out your planners, phones, or however you keep track of your daily schedule. We're already, we were tasked to make a recommendation up or down to the town council within 30 days. We are sitting here now on the 21st. We already have a work session scheduled to work on the comp plan on Monday the 18th at 7. Would it be possible, and would you all agree to continuing this, keeping it open, continuing, while the planner gets the information that we're looking for and come back at, say, 5 o'clock that day? That way we would have about 30 days to individually get with the town planner, ask some questions.
I would like to know what the exact date is for the 30 days to accept or deny, because if we do neither, it's accepted, which is, clearly we'll have to be very aware of what we're doing.
Well,
the exact dates specified in this meeting.
well, if we look at, you can't count today. If we do real estate day, it starts tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. I realize we're not in that. So if we take the 22nd, there's 30 days, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9 days. 31st is 10. And then if we came and added it to 18, that would be 28 days. Is that correct?
It's the 20th of June.
20th?
Of June, correct.
I have it as the 18th, on Monday the 18th. You're talking about the 30 days.
The town attorney is telling me it is 20 days. It's June 20th is 30 days.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, 28 days would be the 18th.
Correct.
So we're in concurrence
So
there.
we'll have to vote on the 18th up or down.
Correct.
To avoid just the default.
Well, if we default,
It's a
then
yes.
it's a yes.
So we need to vote so that at least our vote is heard.
But during that time, keep in mind, we got this packet 2 weeks ago. And I want to just caution the Planning Commission, maybe caution is the wrong word, but when we get these packets, we need to come prepared to discuss it, not wait and do our due diligence prior to, because if not, we waste precious time. So we have to make sure we do our homework. Town planner has to do her homework, and there's nothing to say we can't call the town planner or you, sir, over the next 28 days. But we do need time to look at this.
My question is, on the 18th, it's a work session. Is that also a session we can vote in? Because it is not a scheduled BC session. Otherwise.
Well, if we keep this open.
Behind us, yeah.
I might answer that, Mayor. As long as you have properly noticed the meeting and called it for that purpose, and everybody knows what that purpose is, and it doesn't matter whether you call it a regular meeting, a work session, or a special meeting, it's on the agenda.
Now, if we continue.
So if you do a continuation
we're allowed to continue this meeting.
Yes,
to
as
where
was just pointed out, that it could also be a continuation meeting.
We're making the announcement now, correct?
That's correct. So that would be a continuation meeting, which is a type of regular meeting.
Because if we're going to meet the deadline, if we don't keep it open, we could run into issues of meeting the town council's directive, correct? So I think it would behoove us to do our due diligence to vote it up or down rather than just kind of default. That makes no sense. Okay, you can.
Chairman, I'll be out of town as well, but I will be glad to get the packet, do my due diligence, and let you know, because I leave that Saturday, the 16th, for a week. So.
Well, at last count, there's 6 of us, correct? As long as we have 4, we have a quorum. And if we don't have a quorum, then in essence, we default, correct? So we don't want to do that. So. I mean, I guess we could, but.
Or could you add it to your, didn't you have a meeting before then?
We have
In June?
a regularly scheduled June 6th meeting at 7 p.m. If you guys would like, we can add it to that agenda. If that's too soon, we have the week after we can look at as well.
I think we can add it, but we need to give these folks time to come back as well. Because what happens is we rush, and then we don't make a decision, and then we prolong it again. I think we can obviously put it on the agenda for that night, and whatever information you have. But I think to vote it up or down, we need the time to research. I'm talking about the SUPs, everything. Okay, that was one of the concerns that she will address.
Yep, I have that.
Could I also just ask another question?
Yes.
To which of these places would one walk? If this is a walking town, and that seemed to be the primary thing. Do you walk to a bank? Do you walk to a medical facility? Do you walk to a hotel? Do you walk to a daycare center? Do you walk to these particular drive-in restaurants?
It sounds like you're addressing.
Yep.
I don't
Back,
even address that.
yeah, back to the chair. I'll let the planning commission finish theirs, and then we'll.
We would like the basic idea behind using this land to complete the sense of Haymarket being a walking town. And perhaps that includes townhouses, perhaps that includes retail, perhaps that includes a daycare center. But it is a walking town. One should be able to walk safely to or ride your bike. Right now, you can't do that. This project allows you to do that.
Well, we need to look at that because there's many different, I mean, walking is, how do you define that? I mean, I think safely is a key.
Yeah.
But I can tell you from experience of walking our dog on the other end of town, it's all residential, and people disobey the law there as well. So to single out this down here, I don't think is really fair. Safely.
The point to which I am walking.
Right. But you may walk to something.
It's not going to be a drive-in restaurant.
But you may walk to. But you may walk to something that I wouldn't. Correct? We could walk to something different. I've checked it out. So you've heard our concerns.
Yes, I will work with the applicant and address all of your concerns, and we'll come back to you.
All right.
So the date, though, can we finalize? Did we set on June 6th for finishing the discussion, or do you feel you need the 18th set?
Continuing.
I would like to continue this.
Okay.
Obviously, we're going to meet on the 6th, and any information you can get, put
Okay.
it on the agenda, and as soon as you can get it to us.
Mhm.
But if you look at the 6th, I mean, we only have,
2 weeks and 2 days, 1 day.
yeah, so for them to go back and do their due diligence, they're going to need a little time. Plus, you have a holiday in there, Memorial Day, which some people take off a 3 or 4 day weekend.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes, or a
Most
week
people
vacation.
picnic on, yeah, or vacation.
Mhm.
Those of us that get a vacation, which is a good thing. So can we agree to continue this and whatever information she can have on the 6th, and then we'll vote up or down and pass it on? All right, so we'll keep it open, so we won't close this out.
Thank you.
Yep.
And if any other comments come up, please, again, reach out to me, email me, call me. I'm here, and I'm happy to take your comments anytime. So,
And I want to thank you for your work.
thank you.
Probably most of in this room wouldn't want to be in your shoes, but you're well qualified because this is your area of expertise. So thank you. And I appreciate, again, you folks coming and your efforts. And, you know, somebody's lived here for a long time. I know this started in 2014. I know how long this is. This is not something new. It's been going on for quite some time. So thank you. All right, Mr. Mayor, I think as far as the Planning Commission, we fulfilled our duty for this
Yes,
evening.
just waiting for your adjournment there, sir, and then we'll take a... Well, excuse me, that's right, so you really won't need a motion to continue.
Correct.
All right, well, we thank you for your time there. Right now, until the Planning Commission gets back to it, I don't think it's prudent to have any comments from the dais here regarding this matter until we get all the information. So at this time, pardon me?
I as well, I can't, I
To differ.
Okay, well, I think, why don't you counsel us on this moment here?
I don't know what the people are going to say, but obviously...
Here, I'll say it, and then you can tell me
No,
if I shouldn't have said
I
it.
would just want to say, in general, that the council is obviously in charge of its agenda, but as I understand the mayor's concern is, we haven't had the benefit of the planning commission's concerns yet.
True.
Correct.
I think if there are questions that we need to have answered, those can certainly be posed to staff, and they can get answers to us from the applicant or from the other agencies that are involved.
Understand, sir. Mr. Mayor, my comments have nothing to do with the...
That would show it in favor or denial?
Exactly.
Okay,
It would
then
not be.
as long as we have that clear understanding that, you know, we should have all the information. This would be
Yes.
like giving a verdict of a case without having the due process of hearing all the information. So, and being able to sway the...
Exactly.
Sway a, perception or even the sitting planning commissioners.
Yes.
So with that understanding, I think
And
I'll
please
go
stop
ahead.
me if you think I go overboard.
I will, absolutely I will.
We'll stop.
Yeah.
Not to hear you.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I won't.
And that's what I have this here for. It's just, well, yeah. Yep.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. In view of the comments of the residents, the citizens, I think this resolution is unfair to bind the Planning Commission to 30 days to get back to the town council, knowing a few things. There's a brand-new council taking office on July 1st. This council that I've heard most of the arguments and conversations since 2014 will not have an opportunity to vote or to say anything on it. I think it is unfair. I think it is binding the Planning Commission to a 30-day time period by which they're now struggling, in addition to their personal agendas, to try to find a time that our planner is now going to have to work double time to get the information and communicate with the owners and the representatives to get all the questions answered. I think it is really unfair. And if it is ever at all possible to withdraw my secondment to this resolution, I would love to do that. But I think it is unfair.
Okay, I understand your concerns there. Councilman Cole, did you have anything?
I just want to say that if we come back with a question of, does this fit or, is it appropriate for the town? We already have a list of items that fits, and it's called by right. So we need to be careful when we ask the question, and I don't think it's fair to the developer to make it a bring me a rock drill. Okay, so we need to be, I think the questions are good. I think it's a fair question. But, the point being made earlier, there's by right on this land, so we already have that list.
Okay. Councilwoman Edwards.
I am the council's liaison to the ARB. I have been on the ARB in my 22 years in this town, over 10 years. I am a historic preservationist. I have fought to save every building. I have jumped out, up and down. I've screamed. We have saved several buildings. Some we have not succeeded at. But the ARB does have its purview over this, and we do have a work session scheduled with the developer to come up with concepts, but that is under the purview of the ARB as to the design of the buildings. And you can email your comments into the town, and they will be considered, but that is our purview, and that really isn't up for consideration right now. These drawings, depictions that they have done, they're just basic concepts. They are not specific designs, and that will all go through its own approval process. They're not going to go and put up buildings tomorrow. There is a process beyond this that has to be gone through. So that's all I
Thanks
want
for
to say.
clarifying that. Councilman Leake.
Yes, sir. So when we went through, and I was sitting on the planning commission at that time, which was just about this time last year, in regards to redoing our zoning ordinance, at no point did I ever hear any of these concerns being brought up when we knew that the mere fact that this development was on the books at some point and was going to be coming in. If this is how the planning commission felt, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I look back at, and recap those meetings, there was no discussion about that. We only had more than, all right, so we have more than 2 parcels, but we have 2 sections in town which are only B2. And knowing that only one of those B2 parcels has not been developed yet, in my opinion, common sense would say, well, at some point, this parcel is going to be developed. So as we are rewriting our zoning ordinance, which we did just last year, why would, if this is truly what we did not want within those, why did we allow those on a by right or even an SUP within that B2 district? If it was truly that you didn't want that, then you put that in a more confining district, being an I-1, which is then in for industrial, though. And so with B2 being there, which is your more conservative district of the Bs, B1, B2, at that point, why did we go ahead and pass this through our new zoning ordinance that we did just this time last year? Again, mimicking Councilman Cole, you have your by right and your special use at that point. Also, remember, within our zoning ordinance, we allot the amount of, or it's done by the percentage of the parcel that can be actually developed. Within the B2, it's 75 and 85%. So again, we knew that this was going to be coming down the pipeline at some point. So my job at that time, being on the planning commission, was to then plan for the future of the town, which we did by looking at the zoning ordinance, which we had been doing for many years, and we had vetted and we had public hearings on. And so it's concerning to me. I'm just curious where this is coming up now, knowing that this was the only B2 parcel that was most likely going to be developed. Yes, we have another one, Winterham Part 2, which has their pad site, which would go through, which is also B2, if I'm not mistaken. But knowing that that was the only other B2 parcel, ladies and gentlemen, we knew this going into rewriting our zoning ordinance.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. This is one of the biggest crowds I think we've ever had in my 4 years. And thank you very much for all of your comments. I think they were wonderful. I'm not going to get into any of the details of this. And I also want to thank the developer and the attorneys. And I really want to thank the Planning Commission, because I think they've done a great job tonight. I really think they did a great job. Irrespective of what I just heard, due diligence, thinking it through, doing what's right, listening to your citizens. That's what's important. So I don't agree with what I just heard. Now, I don't understand why we had to box ourselves in this evening. I agree wholeheartedly with Councilmember Morris over there. That's why I voted no. I could see this coming. There's not enough time to get this done. And I don't know why we weren't provided that resolution prior to this meeting, because I walked in very surprised to see it. So I'd like to see the Planning Commission go back and do their work. I think, Mr. Morris, if you could reconsider your motion, that would make a lot of sense. Give the Planning Commission their time to do what they have to do. I am not opposed to this project, per se. I am not opposed to development. But I am opposed to something being forced with an arbitrary deadline. Thank you very much.
Councilman Shannon.
You heard my comments earlier. I would just say, too, this project I know is 4+ years old. I too wish, and this was my own shortfall looking at these 30 days, I truly wish we would have given the Planning Commission, of which I'm the liaison, minimum of 60 days. I mean, what's 30 more days when you consider this is already 4 years old? I think I too would have said no if I'd have known then what I know now. I would have said no, at least 60 days. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a brief recess for about 5 minutes, and we're going to reconvene at 8:05.
It's not a closed session, is it? Is this a closed session? I tell you, I'm irritated. Very well. Shouldn't have done that. That's not fair. Don't agree with the 30 days, you can do it. He can't. Chris can't. Okay. You can't. That's ridiculous. That is bad. That is a bad move. Look at she's filming. She's filming. So what? Who's filming? Why would we box ourselves? Because you were first. Somebody else has to do it. Good. They should. You need to, if you want to reconsider your motion. I don't know why we didn't see this in advance. By the way, Emily, I forgot to say good job. You did a very good job. I apologize for not. I just apologize for not mentioning that Emily did a good job. A very good job.
I made a motion, so it's mine. I don't know.
So what can I do now? Do I change the number here? 004?
You're welcome. You guys did a great job. Sure, absolutely.
Hey, Connor, you'll vote tonight. You want.
Just don't get emotions involved. Yeah,
It is. It's our turn.
Yeah. Hey, Jerry. Jerry, can you find out where Denise is? I'm ready to bring the mortar back to order. All right, I'm going to call our meeting back to order. It's 8:05. Just let me know when we're live, Ms. Denise. Okay. All right. We're going to call our meeting back to order. So at this time, I think, Councilman Morris, did you have a question for the council?
Yes, Council, could you direct me in how I could introduce a new resolution to change the resolution that was previously approved?
Yes, sir. You would simply make a motion to approve a modified resolution number 2018-003 that substitutes another number besides 30 in where it appears in the caption as well as in the now therefore be it resolved portion. So if you wanted to say 60, we'd just strike out 30 and write in 60, for example.
So moved, or?
So moved. I would strongly recommend striking out 30 and replacing it with 60.
Okay. A motion on the floor, and just to make sure we're clarified on this, this is taking our...
Mayor, I'm sorry, it's not recording. 1 second.
Okay.
Get it quick. I might change it to 90.
Yep.
There shouldn't be any artificial deadline.
Planning Commission, get your act together and make sure you're meeting, because I understand you haven't
This
met
will
in
be
3 months.
pretty easy to write down if we don't
Heard that,
get the
Mr.
technical. So there again, the motion on the
Again,
floor
three.
was to change the resolution to include 60 days, not 30 days.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Correct. Motion is on the floor.
Second on the motion. Discussion on the motion.
Yes.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Go right ahead.
Good. Mr. Caudle, is that enough time?
It's on.
Well, in response to your question, it's a whole lot better than 30. So to answer your question, I don't know what we can't determine in 60 days that we would need 90, so I would be comfortable with 60 days. I think that's fair.
Any further discussion on the motion?
I thank you for reconsidering and redoing it, but I don't believe in any artificial deadlines whatsoever. I think we just need to give the Planning Commission the time they need to do it properly. And so I will be voting no, but thank you very much for doing it.
Can I
For-
respond to him?
Well, we're talking about discussion on the motion,
All right.
so this isn't, so
And this-
I haven't actually heard from the other council people that if I wanted to redirect something from you, so go ahead. Councilman Leak,
Excellent.
did you say something?
Yes, sir. So this is for a rezoning. This is not for a site plan. This is for a rezoning. I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page with that. Rezoning. Yes, it has SUPs tied in it, which SUPs then get tied into a site plan, but then the site plan still has to be approved on those aspects. And at the same time, I'll leave it at that, sir. Sorry.
Okay. Any other council would like to speak regarding discussion on the motion? Any council have an objection for Councilman Morris to speak a second time on the motion? No objection, Councilman Morris.
Thank you very much, sir. The only thing that I would add to Vice Mayor's comments is the fact that I heard that the Planning Commission has not met in 3 to 4 months, and it is your responsibility as individuals who are on a committee to make sure that the meetings are held and that you do your due diligence. And I'm not expecting a response.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Edwards, any comments? Okay, I think I've heard everyone. Ms. Denise, we have a roll call vote.
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Edwards. Yes. Lee.
Yes.
Casanello.
No.
Shannon.
Yes.
All right, let the record reflect. We have no other further business, so I'll entertain that motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep. But-
Your meeting's closed.
Good, Chairman Kellogg.
No. Discuss it over dinner. Come over tomorrow night and discuss it.
I don't think this would be,
I think the citizens deserve to know what it is.
Okay.
That's a fair question.
That's true.
sure, go ahead, sir. For the,
Get this thing to work.
Careful, I might cancel this.
So as long as we walk to it, it won't matter, but. All right, here's the reason we didn't meet. We met in January, if I remember correctly, and we did not meet in February, March, and April. Ultimately, as the chair, I made the decision not to meet because we get paid like a $65 whatever stipend for our meeting, okay? There are 7 of us. You do the math. To me, it is irresponsible when the town planner says there's nothing to discuss to hold a meeting so we can collect money to open it and close it. That's $500-some of taxpayers' money, which is over $1,500 of taxpayers' money. And we need to be good stewards of the taxes we collect. So to have a meeting and say there's nothing to discuss, open and close, all get in our car and go home, to me is irresponsible. Okay, we are tasked to meet once a month, but we have professional staff that helps us set the agenda. So that's the reason we did not meet. And in the future, if we have no business from the town planner, as long as I'm the chair, we're not going to meet because we're not going to spend your money if we don't have to. So I just want to make that known. But I will be glad to eat with you.
Yeah. Sounds like dinner at Mr. Morris's house. Okay. There again, looking for the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go. Second? Second by Councilman Shannon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There again, want to thank everyone for coming out tonight.